Right. We have been over the basic teleport rule where we hit the trigger and we get teleported to this point. Now this is applicable for one teleport spawn and one teleport trigger. So if I make multiple triggers here, there's 4 triggers there, and I will actually build a wall around this one just so we can see it. Bear with me, guys. Alright, so there are 4 teleports there. Oh, cracky. Yeah, Taffy's gone rusty. Just so I know where they are, guys, that's all. There we go. Right, if we have 4 triggers, teleport triggers, regardless of which one I hit, because they are all identical, every single one of these triggers will teleport me to this one point here, because every trigger is set with a basic teleport event. So to make this different, we need to take our teleport spawn and let's put him a bit further back. Actually, let's put him up on top. We put him up on top and we will say that he is number 1. So let's select the first trigger and we'll say that's trigger number 1. So now this trigger has a different ID to each of these. Currently, this will still teleport you here because it still has the basic teleport event. Okay, so if I just take that off just to avoid confusion, these all have basic teleport and they're all set with the field ID of 0. So they're all identical. This one has the difference that it's trigger ID 0, guys, not field ID 0, trigger ID 0. This one has the trigger ID of 1. So this one is currently unique to these. So we'll need to create an event now that will dictate what happens when we hit this trigger. So there's 2 ways of doing it. If we go back to our existing event, which is the basic teleport, we are saying to the game that if any trigger is hit, it's going to teleport us here. So currently, all of these will send us here. So we need to tell this one when to change. Okay. So what we do is add an else condition. Sorry, we'll add a condition. I'll get there now, guys. First things first, we will add a condition. So we will say the trigger function would be the player hitting a trigger. We will select the triggering player, the person that hits it. If the event, the thing that's actually happening, the trigger ID equals number 1. So we are saying if the player hits the trigger number 1, we will spawn him. We'll tell it to spawn the player at teleport 1. Okay. So currently, these triggers are now deactivated because the player doesn't know what to do. Sorry, the game doesn't know what to do with the player that walks through them because we haven't got an event created for it. We're only getting teleported if the trigger ID is number 1, which is this one here. This is the one we made number 1. So if we say else, so in other words, if the trigger ID is 1, we'll teleport the player, or else if the trigger's any other number, we will teleport the player teleport player to, let's say, number 7, and I'll create a teleport spawn number, and we call that number 7. So we'll edit that. We give him number 7. Okay, so currently, if I walk through this one here, I will teleport up to the top. If I walk through any of these here, I will teleport to this one up in the sky. This one is now deactivated. So I'm going to test that just to show you. Now I know where my triggers are, guys. You see the reason for the frame. If I forget where I build it, I'm going to have to run around this square until I do actually get close enough to see the triggers appear. So here we go. Number 1 trigger. Can you remember what happens with this one? We get teleported up on top there. So let's try that out. Schoolboy error, guys. Absolute schoolboy error. So this is the importance of checking the enter function on the trigger itself. And I'll show you what mistake I just made. How to sheet excitement. I forgot to tell the trigger what it's doing. Teleport. So that works now. I turned that trigger instruction off. Now it's back on. So make sure these are checked. Otherwise, it's just a pretty box. And that's all it is. Right, so let's play that. Right, let's go again, guys. As you see, here's our triggers. This was trigger number 1 that sends us up the top. This was trigger that would send us to the spawn point number 7, which is up in the air, up there somewhere. So let's try it out. There we go, up on top. I'll drop back into it. Easy. You get that? So now we'll test one of the other triggers. This one will spawn us up in the air, up around there. And any of these 3 triggers will spawn us in the same place, because that's what we told it to do. So folks, if you have any questions, or if you think I can make it clearer for you, just let me know in the comments and I will make the adjustments for you to try and understand it a little better. I mean, we're going to have people with varying skill levels, so you'll have people who are totally familiar with this thinking, Taffy, that is rubbish. The way you've described that is ridiculous. And there may be people who have never used the editor before and they think that makes total sense. So, I mean, it's all a learning curve for everybody, guys. I mean, I'm still learning as I go along. I'm just trying to make things a little more simple and understandable for you guys, just to create something weird and wonderful. Right, I'll catch up with you in the next vid.